Everybody, I would like to call the April 7th, 2026 West Melbourne City Council meeting to order. If you can all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the City Council. Members of the public are welcome to speak on any topic, whether it's on tonight's agenda or any issue that is important to you. Each person that wishes to speak should complete a speaker card, which is located over by the glass doors, and submit it ahead of time to the city clerk, who is right here on the end to the left of me. After you have been recognized to speak, please use the microphone at the podium up front and clearly state your name and address for the record. Please address all of your comments to the City Council rather than to individual members, and direct all questions to the chair. Speakers will be given up to 3 minutes. All right, so we have everybody present with Mayor Young participating via Teams or Zoom, online. Ms. Adams.
Do we need a motion to approve her attending virtually for this meeting as well?
Yes, we do.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Oh, hold on. I had Mr. Frampus's light on.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. I have a motion from Ms. Adams and a second from Mr. Frampus. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
All right, the first thing that we have on the agenda tonight is presentations, proclamations, and introductions. We have the recognition of the graduates of the Citizens Leadership Academy. Mr. Odie. Don't forget your certificates. I'll bring them down.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of the council, and Mayor online. We appreciate that. So we have quite a group that participated this year and graduated. And so what I'm going to have is I'm going to have our city clerk, Miss Alexander, come up and read out their names. And as your name is called, if you could come up, I will give you your certificate, and then I'll say a little bit about the class. So I should probably grab the certificates.
Mr. Bo Graham. Come on down. Oh. Ms. Patricia Endorf Dorsey. Come on up.
This is your moment. Your moment.
Ms. Pardivash Jamnia. Ms. Anya Johnson.
Mr. Rhodey, are they going to
Mr. Aman Modine.
We'll get a picture at the end here.
Yes, we will. Miss Elisa Modine. Miss Jennifer Modine. And Mr. Jonathan Modine. Mr. Cortaz Ross. Mr. Alan Siegel. Miss Nicole Van Buskirk. Mr. John Vanderzil. Mr. Charles Walker. And Mr. Marvin Wright.
Back up. All right,
So close.
all right. So while I say a little bit about the class, if I could have the class all come back up so we can get a great big picture for graduation ceremony. So as we know, every year we put on a citizens leadership class, and we get great participation. So come on up and just line up right here. We go through a 6-week series of lessons and interesting facts about the city, and we break it down by department. And this group has been phenomenal. Just some amazing questions, some amazing back and forth about our great community, the city of West Melbourne, and what we do. And so we have all the department heads come and present their information. And then, of course, the police department always steals the day with somehow the canine is always available to make us look bad. But my favorite part is the ending. The last class is at the sewer plant, and we do a tour of the sewer plant and learn what happens to sewage. And while it doesn't sound very nice and it doesn't smell very nice, it's a very interesting tour, and we're looking forward to future years. I've given an invitation to all the graduates that they will be able to come and get a tour of the water plant here in another couple of months when we get ready to open and do that. And so couldn't say enough about this group. Really appreciate them coming and being active and learning about the city. And we put a plug in there for committees. We have a lot of committees in the city, and we're always looking for good people. So hopefully we'll see you all soon on a committee moving forward. And so if I could ask the deputy mayor to come in so we could get a nice photo of this moment. Thank you all. Another round of applause. Great class. A shameless plug, we also do a Police Citizens Academy, which a lot of the members of this group had participated in last year, and we run that in the fall, and then we run the Citizens Academy in the spring.
All right, and next up we have a proclamation for Fair Housing Month. I believe we have some representatives from the Space Coast Association of Realtors if you guys want to come up and join me, and I will read this proclamation. All right. You got a minute, you don't get to take a picture yet. All right, I will go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas April 11th, 2026 marks the 58th anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, affirming a national policy of fair housing for all. And the Fair Housing Act of 1968 prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And this act ensures equal housing opportunities for all and promotes fair practices in the sale, rental, and financing of houses. And the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 strengthened these protections through expanding rights and enforcement. And fair housing advances equal opportunity, removes barriers, and supports diverse, healthy, and economically stable communities. And whereas the City of West Melbourne fully supports the intent and purpose of the Federal Fair Housing Act, state and local fair housing laws, and follows policies and practices in order to achieve these goals. So I want to say thank you guys. I signed it for you, and you guys get your proclamation. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys. Yes, thank you. All right, hold on, let me put this up. Perfect. You guys want to speak at all? No? Nobody? Thank you. No one?
Appreciate the support.
You don't want to speak?
Thank you for the support.
You. All right, I believe we have no modifications to the agenda tonight, so we will go ahead and move into the public hearings section. Let's see. Nope, not on that. Perfect. All right. So first up, we've got the approval of a gated community. I believe, Ms. Fisher, you have a report for us.
Yes, so for the record, Christy Fisher, I'm the planning director for the city. I typically do a little presentation so everyone can follow along, and this is reflected in the staff report. I'll tell you a little bit about the conversation that I had with the applicant before the meeting started. So again, this is the subdivision that, a couple months ago, we just knew it as the Lennar Homes West Melbourne Townhomes. They would like to call it Avenue West. This is the property that is located on the west side of John Rhodes Boulevard, so you can see that on the aerial. And as a sort of landmark, you can see Sheridan Lakes, across the street Greenwood Village, so this is north of that. The applicant has 3 requests. So remember, we bring things to you that are stated either in the land development regulations or the comprehensive plan. So the 3 requests are the gated community. That's something that we have as a policy in the comprehensive plan. That's why it comes to you. The subdivision name, and that's something that council in the past with a subdivision would vote on. So now it's going to be a separate vote in the subdivision street name. So as a reminder, the gated community and, making sure that we have gated communities that are sort of designed properly. Council, of course, supports it, but we've had some proposals that literally would put the cars just about in the street from the gate. So we, in 2015 is actually when we started this, and in 2018 we had some updates. There's really 3 sections. It's a point system that an applicant has to show that they comply with. So part of it has to do with emergency responders. The second part is stacking of cars. The third part is the connection of sidewalks and bike paths so that this community isn't just isolated. So the proposed gate feature is in 2 locations. You have one. I'm going to use the cursor to kind of circle in the middle of their subdivision gate. They're going to have a pedestrian gate, which makes sense because then you have access to the city park that's going to have a sidewalk around this pond. And the other one is a combination at the south end of the property of their driveway leading up to a gate and also leading up to a pedestrian gate. So pretty typical in terms of, gates. This particular drawing is in your staff report, and I know it's difficult to see, but there's a photo that shows the gate as having, it used to be called the railroad arms that came down. I just talked to the applicant, and we're talking about, since we had a recommendation for a gate type, about them having that plus, sort of like an enhanced gate behind it. So the gate feature for the emergency access, that's my first bullet that I say that the gate feature provides the override for emergency access. So the big thing with Brevard County is they want to have a click to enter, and that's a kind of a radio operated ability to enter into the subdivision. And then there's a few other items that they may have or may not, but that's the most important. The second item is that, remember how I said sometimes these gate proposals have been such that you're almost stacking cars into the adjacent road? This one doesn't. It allows for up to 17 cars to stack in a queue waiting to enter, and that's more than enough. I mean, we want 5 to 10 cars. This has 17, so it checks that box. And they also have their 5-foot sidewalks at the project entrance, and then we talked about, how this is going to connect to John Rhodes, how it's going to connect to the city park. So they had told us that the front entrance would consist of a black aluminum picket fencing. I didn't realize that it was really going to be this image of the railroad. So these arms that come down are going to be augmented, but I'll have the applicant come up and tell you a little bit more about that. What we were talking about in the staff report is that we noticed that with this particular brand of fence that they have what the applicant showed on their drawings, or a slight embellishment at the top here, and that's what I was asking for, is that slight embellishment. And it's not that it has to be all around the property, because in the development agreement, they already identified a fence that looks like this. But it's really, most of this is a visual impact, from the street. And so that's what we're asking for. This hold harmless agreement is something that the city now requires with any of these gates. And that really has to do more with, not holding the public agencies accountable in case there is, for some reason, a reason to go into that subdivision without having that click to enter. So that's what a lot of that has to do with. This is the scoring that we do, and that bottom sentence is, if a project scores 13 points or higher, the council would normally allow a gated community. So staff's opinion is this score is 15 points. And like I said, this seems to do what we want it to do. Now, moving on, because like I said, there's 3 items. Moving on to the subdivision name, there's a section of the code that says that city council has to approve the name. Luckily, this developer already knows what their name is going to be in terms of their branding. And, we looked at Avenue West, and remember when city staff looks at it, it's through sort of narrow lens. Is it something that's offensive? Is it something that's duplicative? It's none of those items. So it may not be really applicable to West Melbourne in terms of calling it Avenue West, but, there's no reason to not allow it. And then the same thing with the street name. The street name actually goes first to Brevard's E911 because they have to approve. Remember, they've got that county-wide system. They don't want to be responding to Macoa drives that might be, within 3 miles of each other. So that's the whole reason why we always have an applicant go first through the county, make sure there's not duplication of names. If the county says it's okay, and again, it's not objectionable, et cetera, then that's typically going to be the name. And they only have one street, so that's why Macoa Drive is going to be their internal loop road. So in conclusion, we're asking for these 3 items to be approved under one motion. If you all want to have some discussion about it, we certainly can. And I believe that the applicant, could answer some of your questions if you have. We could kind of point on the drawing where that embellishment would be on the gate.
Does the applicant wish to speak now, or, you can do both. Would you like to say something now?
Always happy to talk. My name is Anna Saunders with BSE. Appreciate your attention this evening. And as Christy was talking, I guess this is great. I can actually walk over, live out my best Vanna White moments. You can't see, you don't have it on your screen?
I have to do it here.
You can't see what I'm pointing to. No. All right, well, let's see how I can do. Let's see what I do descriptively. So the circle at the bottom of the screen that covers, is identifying the gate. That is the location where Ms. Fisher was talking about doing the embellishment. We have no problem with that. We're happy to agree to that. Put in that embellished gate that I think you called it was an echelon, perhaps, if I'm pronouncing it properly, with the little circles at the top. More than happy to do that. In addition to that, along parallel to the right-of-way, we'll also have that be the embellished portion of the fence as well, and make that a 6-foot fence section. If you'll remember, back in January, we were in front of you with the development agreement, the concept plan, all of those things. And so the other portion of the fencing that goes between the sidewalk and the pond, that is a 4-foot aluminum fence that will have a calusa hedge on the home side of that. And I think that the 6-foot fence to the 4-foot there will tie in nicely. So again, we don't have any issue with that, and happy to provide that for you.
All right, well, this is a public hearing. I do not have any cards up here, but does anybody from the public wish to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. All right, so it looks like they are asking for a motion to approve numbers 1 through 3. What is the wishes of the council? Ms. Volz?
I just have a question, just out of curiosity. The name of this drive, Macoa Drive, was there a specific reason for that?
So I quickly, before I came this evening, looked up the origin of that name. In Hawaiian, it means brave. I will tell you, it's very challenging to get a street name approved in Brevard County. Not only do they look at just the city that you're in, but you're not allowed to duplicate a street name anywhere within Brevard County. So the street naming conventions have gotten pretty creative, and they've got a long list of criteria that are required, and this guy met the mark. It's easy to spell, it's only 5 letters, it won't be, 26 characters long, it'll be easy to see on the street sign, and it was one of the approved choices. I don't have a better reason than that.
I just thought maybe it was somebody's name or something who.
It is, I don't know it, but that's also very,
But maybe somebody's name somewhere along the line.
maybe somebody's name.
Yeah.
That's a probability.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I would like to go ahead and, is it okay to make a motion now? Okay. Make a motion that we go ahead and approve the gated community, approve the subdivision name Avenue West, and approve the street name Macoa Drive.
Mr. Frampus.
I agree, Helen, the name doesn't match the name of the community for the thing, but I'll second it.
That name is probably taken, that if it was going to be Avenue West, the county probably would have said no.
They probably could have changed the name of the development to meet the road name. I don't know. So I'll second.
Ms. Adams.
Just a quick clarification on the gate, because I know in the photo you've got the, for lack of terms, the railroad arm, and then we're putting in the embellished gate, so we are putting in both of those things? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
right. But they're also putting in the embellished,
Gate
That's correct.
behind
So-
it, yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Behind
that's
it.
correct.
So why both?
So the purpose of that is really day-to-day traffic. Residents want to be able to get in and get out of their gate, that right, in a relatively quick manner. And having the embellished gates will be closed in the evenings, has that more secure feeling to it. They actually, it shuts in entirety. We call it a one-armed bandit. You're calling it a railroad gate. It really just day-to-day traffic, and it makes it easier for Amazon to get in, FedEx, yourself, your kids driving in and out. It opens much quicker. It just provides ease of access.
So your goal is during the day to only have the one arm down, and then at night,
Correct. So
Close
in
the
the evening
bigger
hours,
gates.
those gates will be closed. Yes, ma'am.
okay. Christy, do we have any other HOAs with their neighborhoods within West Melbourne that have dual
No,
gates like that?
we don't.
Some of them use the arm as a secondary measure to not get followed through traffic, like the kind of plates, but they don't
Okay.
use it as a separate time of day.
But we do have other neighborhoods that have two?
No, not that I'm aware of, but, Councilmember Frampus may be
Hammock
aware
Lakes
of some.
does?
They have an arm that comes down
Okay.
that only allows, it doesn't allow somebody to slide in through the exit gate because it closes real fast.
If there's a concern with that, we're more than happy to work with Christy and staff to just, determine if we think that the double-gated component is too much. Maybe it is in this particular circumstance.
It seems weird to me,
So
but if
you want
it's,
the ornamental gate, we can certainly do that. So if you'll give us the flexibility to work with Christy and her team on that, I'm happy to do so.
to me, it seems weird, but I'm just one person, and I was just wondering your reasoning behind it. I was also thinking, and I don't know, I'm hoping this is not an issue for the neighborhood, but we have multiple neighborhoods that have issues with people coming in and out and taking the gate out, and then it takes a while to get it replaced. So I'm just thinking about the cost of replacing one piece of your gate versus multiple pieces is not cost efficient.
I will tell you, the one-armed bandit piece is not nearly as expensive to replace if you run into it as the one.
As the full gate. That's fair.
Yes.
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you.
All right, I see no more lights, so I have a motion from Ms. Volz and a second from Mr. Frampus. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, now into the public forum. I do not have any speaker cards specific to the public forum, so we will go ahead and move into the consent agenda. Mr. Frampus.
Make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as written.
Ms. Adams?
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion from Mr. Frampus, second from Ms. Adams. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, moving into the action agenda. First thing I have on here is the tri-party agreement regarding sanitary sewer service for the D.R. Horton development, The Pines. Mr. Rohde?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. So before you this evening is an agreement that we have called the Tri-Party Agreement between the City of Melbourne, D.R. Horton, and the beautiful city of West Melbourne, Florida, involving providing sewer service for a new development west of Sawgrass on Norfolk called The Pines. As part of the continuing march forward of the proposed development, The Pines, at some point it was determined that Melbourne did not have sufficient sewer infrastructure in that area to be able to service it. There was a meeting between the three entities, of which Melbourne was okay with West Melbourne taking the sewer flow and maintaining and keeping the water for themselves. And so we began putting this agreement together. Ultimately, all three parties have agreed to this contract, if you will. And so a couple of relevant items of note for this tri-party agreement is one, that it's in perpetuity. So we will provide sewer service as long as that development is there, which hopefully will be a long time if it happens. The second item is that the residents that live in that development will only get one utility bill. So the City of Melbourne will bill them and collect collect that sewer fee, and then write one check to the City of West Melbourne. So that's intended to avoid any confusion for residents who live there, getting multiple bills, being confused. Ultimately, when the infrastructure is permitted and approved through the City of West Melbourne for the sewer portion, we will have easements, and they will, like other traditional developments that happen within the community, they will turn those assets over to the City of West Melbourne for the City of West Melbourne to maintain and operate moving forward. And so ultimately, one of the other provisions, along with the monthly fee for sewer service, which is based on their water usage, we will be collecting our ordinance for a $3,000 sewer connection per CO. So ultimately, we'll get that revenue for the infrastructure for the sewer plant maintenance and operation. This has been a good agreement to work on with both Melbourne and D.R. Horton. I think we've worked out many of the kinks along the way, and so asking for City Council to approve this item.
Before I get to council, we actually have two speaker cards on this item. If I can have Mary Johannesson, would you like to speak? If you can come to the microphone and please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mary Johannesson. I live at 2990 Indiana Street in Melbourne, Florida, zip code 32904. I just want to bring to the attention of the City Council, so that we're on the same page with information. There is a strip of private property that lies between the Pines East and the Pines West. It's owned by the Florida Gas Transmission Company, and it's referred to as Ranch Road on the south side of Canal 63, but it's actually their private driveway. So the sewer line that's shown goes across private land at this point. I understand the developer will work that out, but I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that at this point. So that's the end of my comment.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
My second speaker is Paul Johannesson.
Mr. Rohde, does that affect anything that we're doing as far as?
No, typical of any subdivision assemblage, they have to create any easements or anything that would be turned over to us. So we're not involved until the project is permitted and finished and then sold to the city for $10.
All right, same thing. If you can please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Paul Johannesson. I'm her better half. I live at the Sun Express. At least tonight I do. So I'll expand on what she said as well. that is a concern that you should be aware of. The other part of it is in the application for the development and the annexation to Melbourne for the Pines development, that road access is not to allow any pedestrian or vehicle traffic north of Canal 63, so in the Police Foundation West. Okay, so I'm not too sure how that's going to happen with the right-of-way access and all that for the sewer system, but you should take that into consideration as well. Okay, thank you.
All right. With that, Mr. Bentley.
Thank you. Mr. Rhodey, how far are we from capacity at the sewer plant?
So we're about a 3.3 million gallon plant on an average for capacity. We are, as part of the BNR project that is under construction now, giving us more capacity. Our typical flow is about 2.2 million gallons in a day. And so we certainly have the capacity to take this project on, as a lot of our development here at the end is going to end up being a little bit more commercial and industrial than originally thought, as far as west of 95 than residential. Ultimately, you know, the city of West Melbourne will ultimately need to expand the sewer plant one more time in the next 10, 15, 20 years. But these 810 homes are not a reflection of why that would need to happen. So we continue to grow, but we also always want capacity in the sewer plant. And once we reach our final build out, we may need to add one more basin to collect into. But whether these 810 homes come in or not would not be reflective of needing that final expansion.
And are they permitted, since we're obligated no matter what, basically at that point, if they expand past 811 homes, we're okay?
It is for 811 homes.
I guess you're saying if they go further.
Like another
I didn't know if they
phase.
expanded 5 years from now. Are we going to be prepared for that?
Yeah, if there were to be additional development in that area, Melbourne is in the process of trying to get sewer infrastructure to this area, which I'll just generally refer to as west of this and east of the Parkway, and north of Norfolk and south of 192. They are trying to work to get infrastructure, and I think ultimately they will get infrastructure there. But if there is a Pines West that someday develops, we would have to evaluate that separate. But this agreement is for 811 homes only.
And we're obligated per our rules to only be able to charge 10% over what we charge people within the city limits of West Melbourne?
You are correct. Our city ordinance has a 10% premium for non-residents. The state just recently passed, I believe it's 25%. Yeah, the state just recently passed a cap of 25% is the most you can charge for non-residents, but we have had a long-standing tradition of 10% per the city code.
Thank you, sir. With that, Deputy Mayor, I'd make a motion that we provide the sewer service for the Pines project in the city of Melbourne. Thank you.
Mr. Frampus?
A second with a couple questions.
Go ahead.
So along the lines of what was said, we have a bunch of housing projects coming online here pretty soon. 3 that I know of.
3
maybe
townhome
4.
projects.
It's how, well, where did you say we were at with capacity, and is that going to put us close to capacity or not?
So we're a 3.3, 3.5 million capacity plant, and we're averaging about 2.2 with 32,000 people right now.
Yeah.
So it's you know, while I would not want 811 homes of sewage to show up in my backyard tomorrow, or one home of sewage to show up in my backyard tomorrow.
This doesn't work out, it's going.
Yeah, in the big picture of the plant, this is a very small percentage.
How many lift stations in this community are we going to be taking responsibility for? I know there was one in West Melbourne on Norfolk. Is there, how many within the community?
So there'll be 3 lift stations that feed into our lift station that's already in existence in West Melbourne,
In the city of Melbourne?
in the city of Melbourne.
So that's additional costs we're going to have down the road, but would be funded through the
The monthly user fee.
monthly user. I think this is a good deal for West Melbourne. I know that Melbourne was trying hard to get their sewer down here in time, but it doesn't look like they can meet the timelines that the contractor wants. So I think this is a good deal, as long as we're not considering this as part of a greater deal to approve other projects down the road, or other things relating to this down the road. So that's it.
All right, with Ms. Adams.
Just a quick question, thank you. Knowing that Melbourne currently doesn't have the ability to service this neighborhood, we would, if we decide not to, I mean, they don't have any other option, correct?
I think,
I agree with Mr. Frampus, I think it
yeah.
makes sense, but I just want to make sure, do they have any other options, or this is their option?
I don't want to speak for the developer or for Melbourne, but it's not typical for a municipality to allow another municipality to provide service. And so I think this is a good opportunity for us, but my guess would be the answer would be at some point Melbourne would expedite that project and try to get sewer to that area. I think the challenge, as we have discovered in West Melbourne, is running sewer infrastructure for a lot of development is cost effective. Running sewer infrastructure for one development is not cost effective.
Are they expecting any further development in the near future in that area, or do we not know?
I do not know. I mean,
I'm just thinking if we're going to be connecting there, you know.
yeah, I don't know, but certainly anything outside of the 811 would be a separate agreement, another item that would come in front of this body.
Understood, thank you.
Mr. Bentley?
Yeah, Mr. Doherty, this belongs to us forever, regardless of whether they develop service in the area or not.
Correct.
Thank you.
This is in perpetuity.
So I have a motion from Mr. Bentley, a second from Mr. Frampus. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have the Norfolk Parkway improvements. Mr. Rohde?
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor and members of the council. So before you this evening, a second item regarding the Pines and the development. As you recall, about 10 months ago, D.R. Horton and their team was present in front of this council to discuss the possibility of this Pines development. One of the items that the city has was an ordinance in place regarding extending developments into other communities that use our roadways. And at that time, the city council and the developer agreed to waive that stipulation in exchange for the developer building the ultimate build-out of Norfolk, which is 3 major intersection improvements, the school, Shallow Creek, and Minton, as well as 4-laning the project. And so as that action took place, then moving forward, the development became more of a reality as they worked through the approval process in the city of Melbourne to get this development moving forward. One of the items of contention, as just mentioned, was utilities, and at one point in time it was talked about water and sewer. ultimately they had water capacity. And so we got through that hurdle, or I should say the developer got through that hurdle. And then ultimately now I think it is within a couple of months of going back to the city of Melbourne with its development approval and development agreement. And so one aspect of that that we don't have in a normal development is we would have a development agreement, which would stipulate how things are built and timelines of those measurements. Because this is not a development in the city of West Melbourne, we don't have access to that, so we approached it by an action of the council for the site plan of the road improvement, which articulates the improvements, the school, Shallow Creek signalized intersection, and the adjustment of Minton working through the county, and then the ultimate four-laning of the project. With that also came a timetable that that both staff and the developer had discussed, which ultimately is before you this evening, along with some of the drawings of the key areas, again, Shallow Creek, Minton, and the ultimate four-laning of the project. And I just want to, I'm scrolling, so bear with me one second. The relevant timeframes are once development has been approved by the city of Melbourne, which is my understanding in the next month or two, the clock would start and they would have up to 3 years or 300 COs, which are just finished homes for sale, so certificates of occupancy, to complete the Shallow Creek signalized and four-lane section of Shallow Creek and the construction of the improvements at Minton. And then at 10 years or 810 or 811 COs, they would have to have completed the full four-laning of the rest of Norfolk. And so that item is before you this evening. The developer and their team, they look a lot bigger from this perspective. I think it's just 4 of them, but the development team is here as well to answer any questions, and I'd be happy to answer any that I can.
All right. We also have 2 speakers on this item as well. It looks like it's Mary and Paul again. Do you guys wish to speak again? Okay. Mary?
Yes, Mary Johannesson, 2990 Indiana Street, Melbourne, Florida. So I applaud the council for setting milestones with the developer for expansion improvements into the Norfolk Parkway, the piece that goes to the West Melbourne boundary. There is discussion, I believe, in a study underway by the city of Melbourne looking at the extension from basically the Pines entrance, just west of West Melbourne, to the Norfolk Parkway, or excuse me, extending the Norfolk Parkway to the St. John's Heritage Parkway. I've heard different timeframes in which that study will be completed. And I believe initially it will be 2 lanes and then expanded to 4 lanes. However, it would be connecting into the parkway, so of course that's county. There's hurdles to get through for that. Addressing earlier comments or questions regarding sewer. So I have the Platte Ranch. If you ignore all my scribbles here, the Platte Ranch is close to 4,000 acres. Under the city of Melbourne, when they annexed it, the Platte Ranch from, I believe it was in 2016, it formally occurred. There were provisions associated with this, and it's under the city of Melbourne's comprehensive plan, excuse me, future land use development, and it's under 1.11.6, Platte Ranch Community Center. That has very strict stipulations as to the amount of housing and the types of housing, a requirement for school, actually a requirement to have an arterial road connecting north-south to 192, which is, of course, FDOT. But in order to do any development on any piece of that land, a comprehensive development plan has to be submitted to the city of Melbourne that covers the whole Platte Ranch, except for the little 300 acres that got excluded, right, which is the east PUD of the Pines development. And then what just got annexed is the western portion, which was county, and that's known as the Crawford Nursery by the local neighborhood that I live in. So timing on all of this, there's a lot of work, obviously. There's a lot of constraints associated with it, and the city of Melbourne is actually required under this Platte Ranch Community Action Center to provide both water and sewer to the entire Platte Ranch. Developers and the owners, property owners, will be required to pay for the connection to those services or those utilities. So that answers your question as to whether West Melbourne is going to be doing that. However, I do want to point out, until that is developed and until there is access to St. John's Heritage Parkway, Norfolk Parkway is the only means of ingress and egress to the Pines development for police and fire services. So, City of Melbourne, police, I'm not sure about the fire, which fire station does that, but would be coming down Norfolk Parkway. So I don't know if that is taken into account as well. Another piece of data, the east part of the PUD and the west part of the PUD of the Pines are actually in different school districts. So the boundary, even though it's connected, you know, the whole development is one. The current property boundaries are in two different school districts for both elementary school and the high school. So just things to be aware of and to keep in mind in future reviews. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Paul?
Guessing most of that applies to Melbourne as opposed to West Melbourne, correct, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, and the school board as well, as far as the school lines go.
Paul Johannesson, same address as the last time. So what she said, with respect to the Platte Ranch and the overall comprehensive plan, you have a bunch of unknown unknowns, and they're all going to want to go east-west on the Norfolk Parkway when it's finished. So I don't know how that's going to impact West Melbourne, but I see West Melbourne becoming a stomping ground for the city of Melbourne. So that's my viewpoint. With respect to adding homes and extending the Norfolk Parkway, and I know that it would relieve some of the traffic and allow the development, what's the impact going to be on Minton Road? Right out here at 3 o'clock when it gets shut down to one lane, and 192. When the Parkway, Norfolk Parkway, gets connected to the Heritage Parkway, where are they going? I know what I experience. They're going east on 192 through West Melbourne. We can't get out of our neighborhood today. It's backed up all the way past the Space Coast Town Center. And just a point of note today, driving here, they were backed up from 95 to Tractor Supply going west. Okay? So Norfolk Parkway, this intersection down here at Minton Road with more development without a comprehensive plan is just going to be more of a problem, is what my viewpoint is. I kind of look at it like the children's book, if you give a mouse a cookie. That's my viewpoint on this topic. I could go on. At the Melbourne City Council meeting, I want you guys to envision this. Melbourne Police Department, responding to a 911 call, can wave to their brothers in blue as they drive to the Norfolk Parkway. Because the only way to get in and out of there is going to be the Norfolk Parkway. And I'll remind you again, The application to the city of Melbourne says no access on Ranch Road. My recommendation is to close the culvert at Canal 63, and then the Florida Gas Transmission Company can work it out with you guys, can work it out with City of Melbourne and the developer, and all that heavy equipment and that daily traffic to and from that can drive through their development, have access to the Norfolk Parkway with easy access north, south, east, and west without being forced to make a right-hand turn on 192 at the I-95 interchange. So put that in your thought process here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Frampus.
Mr. Rhodey, well, let me just start by reading an email I sent to Mr. Rhodey earlier. States, I know that Sawgrass Lakes Community Association has not agreed to the temporary construction easement or traffic signal easement presented by D.R. Horton through the plans by the construction engineering group, nor has the developer made contact with the association on this matter. So in our packet, they represent that there's the potential for easements, but no contact has been made to discuss those easements. I also stated, apparently, what is being presented to council on the April 7th meeting is incomplete, as the documents I have are different from those being presented to council, which I've learned recently that that was 3 weeks ago, and this thing's moving quickly, and apparently they were updated since I received the last copies. So I'm guessing there's more than just 3 pictures, but council should be provided with all the plans of this project and not just a few, select few. I also believe that the timelines provided for the milestones of the project are unacceptable and inconsistent with what the public was promised. 3 years or 300 occupancy permits for the traffic light and Norfolk-Minton intersection improvements, and then 10 years or 181 occupancy permits for school traffic improvements and the expansion of Norfolk Parkway to 4 lanes. I mean, think about that. We're already having traffic problems, and we want to wait 10 years before we open up this road to 4 lanes. It says, all of which should be simply unacceptable, and I'm surprised it's being presented tonight. West Melbourne being promised the sewer rights for this project is not just cause for the burden that will be placed on the West Melbourne residents, Pineapple Cove travelers, or residents of the Pineapple or the Pines, the new development. During those timeframes, and our word on improvements, which you, Mr. Rhodey, and many of us have told our residents at various meetings. So, you know, just a little history. Back in 2002 or 2003, through discussions, Mr. Bentley put forth a motion that ultimately resulted in the city funding the traffic light at Shallow Creek and Norfolk. We've already promised the residents there was going to be a traffic light there. It was supposed to be 2 years ago, and then it got delayed because of COVID, I believe, and the ability to get the parts in a timely fashion. And then 2004 was also on our budget to do. And then at the end of that, they started negotiations where D.R. Horton would pay for the traffic light. Now we're going to make residents wait another 3 years for this traffic light. It's just unacceptable. It should be happening at the beginning of this project, not at the end of the project, or not 3 years into the project. You know, I don't see any verbiage in this agreement that states about the construction vehicles not being able to use Norfolk Parkway, because to my recollection, it was always supposed to be the construction vehicles were going to be mandated to use a construction road that went from the Pines project to Heritage Parkway. Is that not still being considered?
That's in the original agreement.
But it's not in this agreement.
This is just the timetable and the drawings.
But it's not stating anywhere that construction vehicles won't be on this road, right?
we would be happy to add that. I don't think that would be a,
I think that was a big part that we didn't want, and, you know, to what was said here tonight by the two residents who spoke, that the additional traffic on Minton and, during 3 o'clock time hours. I mean, currently there is a traffic problem on Norfolk just based on the school expansion with the extra 400 people they're adding to their rolls. They're, getting out of the community there, one way in, one way out. It's a problem now. And to make the residents wait another 3 years beyond what they were promised seems to be ridiculous to me, and I won't be able to support this. Thank you.
Ms. Adams.
Thank you. Mr. Rohde, do we know why the developer has not been in, if it is true, that they have not been in touch with Sawgrass HOA? And I ask because, yes, we look at things from a whole West Melbourne perspective as part of council. However, I think we can all recognize any work done on Norfolk Parkway that impacts Shallow Creek is going to directly impact, what do you have, just about 1,000 homes back there?
933.
That's a significant, amount of our community, and so I want to be sensitive to the fact that, to me, that seems like an important piece that might be missing. I would agree with Mr. Frampus in my notes. Looking at that timeline, knowing that this is going to impact not only the people that live there, but the people that use these heavy roads in West Melbourne that we recognize as a council, we don't have control over those, changing a lot of that traffic pattern. But we do have an opportunity to work with the developer to say, hey, we understand your timeline. However, that's not going to work for our residents. And I think we've got to have some flexibility on that timeline. Looking at, I agree, I think if we're going to prioritize the project, and I think it could be a good project, that 3 years has got to be bumped up. I would, if it's doable within that first year. And I think 10 years is just, when you think about the length of time for a project and the residents impacted over that timeline, I mean, we'll have some residents that will move into the city, stay here, and potentially move out of the city depending on work before that gets done. That's a long amount of time. I'd like to see that move down to 5 or 6 years, personally. That's just my opinions on that. But I think if we haven't been in touch with the HOA and seeing the questions raised by Mr. Frampus, who I understand, lives there and may hear probably more about it from his neighbors, the residents who come from Melbourne with their concerns, I don't know how the developer wants to address those. I know they're in the audience. I'd love to hear from them. That's just my opinion, but I have some concerns.
Yep, I think you have two questions. One, the developer reaching out to the HOA, and the second is the time frame. So I will defer the second question. I'll answer the first question first, but I'll defer the second question over to the development team to add to this conversation. The proposed improvements do not go on to the private property right-of-way. So the four-laning, the signalized intersection was able to be shifted into the right-of-way, and so it didn't require any land from the HOA. The one element, I believe, is still an item that sounds like it's going to be in the HOA's right-of-way, is just the 4-foot tall push button for the walk, don't walk button. But other than that, the entire development has been, the entire road expansion has been shifted to be out of the HOA right away.
And I understand that, but I think there's a difference between legally required and being a good neighbor and developer coming in that area. That's just my opinion.
I'll defer the second question over to the developer on timeline.
Deputy Mayor, can we pull them up for questions?
Yeah, do you guys have a representative that would like to come up?
I do just want to say, Mr. Rohde, that you presented us with documents that say with and without HOA approval. So,
yeah, and again, I won't speak for the developer, but it was discussed that if the HOA would like the double lanes coming out of Shallow Creek, that they are willing to do that if they were granted an easement to be able to do that work on obviously private, what I would call private property. They're happy to do that. Otherwise, they would, happy to continue with the project and not touch private property and stay off of it.
Hi, if you can state your name and company address for the record, please.
Thank you. Jake Wise, civil engineer for the Norfolk Parkway project with CEG, Construction Engineering Group. And I was taking notes on all your questions, so appreciate that. Tonight, basically, understand there was already an agreement that has been put together, and so we're coming here tonight for an update on that. At the time the agreement was made, there was discussions about maybe a roundabout at Shallow Creek intersection with the Norfolk Parkway, and or if we're going to end up with an intersection. So we did study that, and there's just not enough land in the public right-of-way to do the roundabout. So we ended up with a T intersection with a traffic signal. And so we did ask, as Mr. Frampus identified, to be able to obtain easements for the intersection improvements and temporary construction easements as well to make the work easier, to make the maintenance of traffic simpler, and just a little simpler and less difficult for the residents. But for whatever reason, that was denied, so we had to go back to the drawing board and come up with a design that would work within the right-of-way that didn't need any easements at all. So that is what has been brought before you. That did take some time. It has only come up over the last few weeks. So we have been able to come up with a design that did not need any easements from the HOA.
What was actually denied?
The request for the easements for
Denied by who?
it's just my understanding. I wasn't involved directly.
I
Sorry.
don't think there's ever been a meeting.
Okay. So this wasn't supported then, as far as I'm aware, to allow us to use the easements for the improvements in the construction. I apologize, didn't realize that. So what we proposing is to do the traffic signal, and we want to do the roadway projects. They want to make it better for the Pines project. They want to be able to have better access. They want to be able to not have backups like they're already having. And we think the traffic signal and the Min Road intersection improvements alone in the first phase would be significant improvements that will help that day-to-day travel. The time frames are the outlier. That's the worst case scenario. We based it on the normal absorption rate of homes, but we didn't want to just have it based on selling homes. We wanted to make sure there was a time frame cap, and that's why you have the 3 years and the 10 years. So for the 300 homes, which for the 3 years, we do anticipate it to go much faster than that. But we also concurrently still have to do a full design. We have to get it permitted, and some of the traffic signal infrastructure takes up to a year to obtain. During COVID, it was a lot worse, but it's getting better. So a typical traffic signal project takes about 2 years, best case scenario. We did one recently at Mariloma and Babcock Street in Palm Bay. That one took almost 3 years, and that was moving as fast as we could. So they do take a lot of time to do all the permitting, design, construction, and get all the infrastructure there as well. So the 3 years is the worst case scenario. We want it sooner. We want it to be there as quickly as we can because we do believe it will be a significant improvement for the Pines as well. There is a second project in between the third project, which is the 4-laning, and that is something that's not within the city of West Melbourne limits, but that is taking the parkway out to Norfolk Parkway out to the St. John's Heritage Parkway, so that's another significant improvement. The traffic study that we did, and we have a traffic engineering company that did that separate study, and they did that with Brevard County, City of West Melbourne, and with the City of Melbourne. So all 3 agencies involved in this traffic study that was looking at these regional improvements. The 4-laning didn't provide a significant upgrade or any upgrade to level of service. Obviously, it gets cars moving faster to the next intersection, but it's still something that ultimately we believe is going to be great for the whole area and a big part of our project, so that's why we're committed to it. Again, we want to do these things. We're not asking for any impact fee credits. We're not asking for any fees to be waived or anything like that. We want these improvements to happen as well. That's how the Pines is going to be successful, is to be able to get these improvements done, but we have to be able to do them in a way that the project can financially support it and be able to have the time to do it correctly through design and getting all the infrastructure and everything else for those. So yeah, the timeframes are absolutely the worst outlier case. You know, if 2007 or 8 comes again, interest rates, COVID, there's so many factors that could happen. So we just wanted to make sure that we had the ability to make sure that we could get them done in a reasonable time. But based on our typical absorption rates, we would get it done much faster than those timeframes that you're seeing. I heard you ask about access. So 100% agree. All construction access comes from the west. It does not go down Norfolk Parkway. That same construction access could also be used as emergency services ability to be able to come. They could come down Norfolk, of course, or they could come from the west off of the St. John's Heritage Parkway. But it's important to have 2 different accesses for emergencies. We do already have school concurrency for the Pines project. We are going through the process of being able to complete the design that you have in front of you now that doesn't have the easements. And then our next steps from here would be to do 100% complete engineering drawings, get them permitted, and then be able to start ordering all the infrastructure for the improvements. We have to come up with maintenance of traffic plans for pedestrians, for vehicles. We also, of course, have to cooperatively work with the school. We have met with the school. We have worked with them as well to make sure that they are part of what we're doing as well. The school has even agreed to stagger their times for the addition that they're doing now with school start times with the older kids versus the younger kids, so that the travel times will be at different periods. They won't all be at the same time for the school. So that being said, what we're proposing now is to immediately move forward with the intersection improvements at Shallow Creek, immediately move forward with the improvements at Mitten Road. And at Mitten Road, we're going to take the southernmost lane and make that just a right turn lane, so a dedicated right. That'll be an improvement. We're going to have dual left turn lanes going north, so you'll have double the stacking plus extra length that we've added, and then some traffic signal improvements as well. So we do believe that first phase is going to be a pretty dramatic improvement for both Mitten and Shallow Creek intersections. So that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can answer for the board.
Thank you. Mr. Gaylord?
Hey, Jake. So you mentioned that the 3 years and the 10 years were based off your worst case scenarios. And you mentioned that the 300 COs and the 811 COs are based off your absorption rate, which would go much faster than your worst case scenarios. So I'm curious to know what the difference in time periods D.R. Horton would be looking at based on your typical absorption rates, and then obviously like what your best case scenario would be, because currently you have it written up that it's 3 years or 300 COs, whichever comes first, and then 811 COs or 10 years, whichever comes first. So curious to know what the time frame looks like based on your absorption rates.
I think I'd be happy to answer your question, but for the first phase, it is as much permitting and time frame to do the construction. Based on your typical absorption rates, it'd be around the 2-year mark for the first phase, and that's what we're hoping to beat that, to be able to get that traffic signal in there. And again, it's an improvement for the Pines, so we want it to happen.
And what about the second milestone?
The 10-year worst case scenario.
Yeah, I'd say worst case based on our absorption, that would be around the 7-year mark. If we're absorbing at our regular pace, we'd hit that 811 units around the 7-year mark.
Okay, thank you.
When you say absorption, what are you talking about, the sales of the houses?
Sales of the houses, yes. For example, Sawgrass Lakes itself, 933 units, went very quickly. It was in a good economy. Things move faster. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we know this council's hoping for, is for it to move along as quickly as possible. But, COVID, 2007, 2008, and when my parents bought their house, they're still in today, they had an 11% interest rate, and they were excited. So things change, and we just want to make sure that we're making sure that we do have an outlier, worst-case timeframe.
Ms. Adams?
Thank you. I'd like us to instead focus on best-case scenario, and if we need an extension, to me, that makes more sense to then come back and say, hey, XYZ happened, but we're working on the best-case scenario timeline. I'm supportive of the project. I think it's good for multiple communities that are in this area, but I'm not supportive of placing transportation and traffic burdens on current residents for a long period of time to meet the needs of future residents at a much longer timeline. Is there a reason we have not connected with Sawgrass in terms of recognizing it's going to impact multiple families?
Well, for your first part of your question, totally fair. The 300 home mark is what we are anticipating is about the same amount of time to sell the houses that will take us to design, permit, and be able to construct the signal. We anticipate that to be our best case scenario. Our only concern is if for some reason we're not selling homes in a normal pace, we just want to have the ability to be able to say, okay, for whatever reason, economy, things that are outside of our control, we have a little bit more time. Or, for example, I'll just give you an example. The city of Palm Bay has a wastewater treatment plant they're trying to finish. It's 3 years past. They still are not being able to get the final components they need all these years later. Things like that pop up. That's unfortunate.
That's why you give us the best case scenario and then you come for an extension.
We did the 300 units. If that goes, that's best case, and we're happy. We can't wait to get it in. It's a huge improvement for everybody. But yes, that is exactly what we're hoping for. I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question, too?
In terms of the Sawgrass community.
Oh, reaching out to Sawgrass?
Because those are going to be the people that call all of us.
Understood. Scott Lee, Division President, D.R. Horton. Thank you guys for your time tonight. In regards to your first question, it was my understanding, it was our understanding that the city was in contact with the HOA, and that response was the response.
What response? I'm sorry.
Who did you talk to?
Who did I talk to?
Who with the city did you talk to? Whomever.
So myself.
Okay.
So we have had conversations, but the D.R. Horton and Sawgrass HOA have never been in the same room.
I believe the response was that Sawgrass Lakes couldn't talk to Mr. Rohde officially about this this road until the Sawgrass Lakes current lawsuit was settled with them, so there would not be a conflict. And that's what Mr. Rohde was told during our meeting.
Has that been settled or not?
To my knowledge, it's on the verge of being settled.
Is there a reason other than the fact that I think lots of people support this project and want it to move forward in a good pace? Is there a reason that we need to consider this tonight and now, Mr. Rohde, versus potentially tabling it to give them time to either close this other issue, meet with the HOA, potentially come back with a better timeline? Well, I'd like our city manager to, from his perspective, but you're welcome to.
Yeah, the timing of this item is really twofold. One, the tri-party agreement is finally ready, and so good timing coming together. The second item is they received preliminary approval from Melbourne on some of their land use and rezoning elements, and then need to come back within the next month or two to get development agreement and essentially final approval. Their process is similar to ours, it's just a little different. And so we tend to do that in 2 meetings land use, rezoning, future comp plan, development agreement, all in 2 meetings. Their process, because of the annexation, was a little bit different. So we have this window between now and when it goes back to Melbourne for action, whether it's approved or denied, to kind of work this detail out. And so that's why timing work. That's why it's in front of this body this evening.
And if it gets denied by this body, what happens in front of Melbourne?
If it were to get denied this evening, we would certainly circle back with the developer and try to find something that would work to bring back. But ultimately, we would want to get this element, they have permission to do the road. They have permission. We have an agreement with them. This was more the time frame and the details of what that road's going to look like so that everybody in the community can see what's happening, right? We don't want to make these decisions away from the community. We make them in front of the community. And so if it goes nowhere tonight, then we'll circle the horses and take another stab at it at a future meeting.
And let me just say from the community's point, since they're staying within the easements of the right-of-way, I don't know that there's much the community can do. However, as a councilman, I think we made promises that we should consider when we're telling residents something's going to happen. We should stand behind that.
I didn't know if you wanted to chime in after
No,
Mr.
Mr.
Rudd.
Rudy did a good job. Thank you. A lot of it comes down to timing. We've been talking about timing. You guys mentioned 3 years and how that potentially is not a short enough time period. Just ordering mast arms takes about a year, right? So if we place an order today, it would take a year to get those in, right? A year, half a year worth of development, hopefully sooner, right? That's with everything being smooth, right? And then there's trip periods, and there's a period of time when you have to run those things to make sure they work before they're finalized. So with I guess the sense of urgency would be is for us to come to an agreement here of what we're doing, so that way West Melbourne can also look at our plans and get us what we need. Our plan is, once we have approval for West Melbourne, the project is still at risk, but to shorten that duration, we would go ahead and order those mast arms. We've worked it through on our end, how we're gonna have to do that. And what it comes down to is that we're at risk. We're gonna be at risk. So Melbourne could potentially shut that down because we still have an agreement with the city of West Melbourne to put that traffic signal in. So once we have the agreed improvements, we're gonna place that order, and everything's still at risk. But we're gonna place that order, pay the money for that to try to expedite the traffic signal. 3 years is extremely tight, okay? As far as 10 years, I completely agree with everybody. That sounds like a long period of time. We don't want to talk about the economics of what it's like to build and produce a development. I live in Sawgrass Lakes. I feel like not being a person that works for D.R. Horton, the community got built probably too quickly, right? That's up for debate. This type of project, even the time period we're looking at the absorption rate, how fast we can build them, how fast people can purchase it, how fast they can move and afford it, you're looking at 6 to 7 years without it being a tremendously crazy great market, but then we're still going to be at risk if the market goes really sideways, right? So that's the ask for the 10 years. Is there some flexibility to it? Sure. Not much, because it would be tough to keep on coming back to say, hey, because we're also the ones posting the bonds, going back to pay for the bonds. I know nobody cares about how much money costs, right? But that's a process, right? And for us, we want to get it done as expeditiously as possible, right? So it doesn't behoove us. We're not in business to drag a project out just so we're on the same page, right? It's not in our best interest to be sneaky about any of this stuff, right? I feel like since the beginning of this journey, we've tried to be, and I still feel this way, to try to make it a win-win for every municipality we're touching, including West Melbourne. So, and staff has been great to work with, and I appreciate it.
And I appreciate that. I think, you said it very well. Everybody wants the project to move forward at a good pace. It's good to know that you live in Sawgrass, and so you see some of the current already traffic buildup that I think many of us are concerned about, looking at it from a whole city perspective, especially when we have increased traffic.
And I do live there, right? I go to work in the morning. I have 2 little children. My wife takes to school. So that we get stuck in the same traffic. Nothing more do I want to have that traffic signal put in, but there's the reality of the time frame it takes to get that type of equipment, install it and do it. I would be setting myself up for failure if I agreed to anything less than 3 years. I mean, there's nothing more that I want to place an order for that and try to get that done as fast as possible, right? Timing of school season and stuff like that, we're taking all those things into account. We're not just blindly just throwing at a dart and saying this project's going to go about whenever we feel like it's time. We're taking into account school season, seasonal season, summertime, all that stuff. So as far as the traffic signal, the very first part, we're talking about that part, right? 10 year, that's a different thing, right? So, at 7 years, that's tough, right? That type of development should take 7 to 8 years, in all honesty, for it to be properly done, not overburdening anything. So that's what they asked was 10 years.
Thank you.
Ms. Foltz?
I'm going to make sure that excuse me, that 3-year timeline isn't tied to 300 homes. So you're not going to, excuse me, one second. We're not going to wait for 300 homes to be built before you put in the turn signal. I mean, the traffic light. Okay.
So it's 300 homes or 3 years,
Okay. It's one, okay.
whichever comes first.
Yeah. I just wanted to be sure that that was the case. Thank you.
Which includes the modifications at Minton Road as well.
Yes.
Right, so it's not just, it's the improvements at Shallow Creek and Norfolk and the modifications which significantly will enhance congestion in that area. Yeah.
Mr. Bentley?
So, to make sure I understand this, in 3 years, you're saying you'll have the light put in? Yes?
That is the goal. And again, if we can walk through it real quick, though, so I still have to get a site plan approval.
I understand all that.
Place an order.
And I understand the 3 years. So I understand why you would say 3 years. So,
But he's also saying that that's after everything gets approved. He has 3 years to do it.
after everything gets what?
Approved.
Correct.
So you can't start work till you get it approved, right?
But what he's saying, that the clock doesn't start ticking until everything's approved. And then it's another, so if it's a year before that happens, it could be 4 years before the light comes in.
Right, but he's not going to be doing, until he gets approved, he's not going to do any construction either. So, I mean, I think it's a real issue. Where I'm struggling, one of the places I'm struggling is the 10 years before you four-lane it and before you do any improvements, I think on Minton Road, toward Minton Road right there. Is that true?
Yes, sir. So the first phasing of development.
You got to talk a little bit loud. I got a knuckle you're sitting right behind me.
Sorry. The first phase of development is going to be the Shallow Creek improvement with the traffic signalization.
Right.
And then the Minton Road intersection on Norfolk, right?
And that's within 3 years?
That's within the 3 years of 300 homes, okay? The other part of this that isn't really in here is that we will be punching west and connecting out to the St. John's Heritage Parkway.
Right. When will it be four-laned?
Within 10.
Within 10 years of permit release.
10 years. So,
Our part.
right, I understand that. So you're asking the residents that live there currently, the 933 or whatever the number is, to potentially go through 10 years of additional, even worse traffic than they currently have. And I don't think you live there, that anybody can argue that it's a good traffic situation.
So, again, based on the traffic improvement analysis, and I know that
I've seen that.
I know that they're magic, right? They're like voodoo. Anybody.
Yeah,
can make
I can
it
get
say
any
whatever
answer I
they
want.
I understand that.
I'm just paying for it.
But I think anybody that lives there, a traffic signal and the modification at Minton, it will have significant improvement. I think that in itself is going to open a lot.
Do you have
Plus,
any data that shows that?
yeah, the traffic improvement analysis, we'd be happy to share that for sure.
We have that.
Actually, the analysis actually shows that with that modification and going out west, there's no need to ever 4-lane.
So,
Well, not with this development. Now, if everything gets modified later on down the road,
so I might believe if you put in a light and do some improvements, you could speed the current situation up. But you're also adding 300 homes in the meantime onto that road before the 10-year mark gets here, starting, I mean. So,
Classes in the school. Multiple grade levels, I'm sorry.
here's,
Yeah, so that might be able to help you with your question. So what the traffic study identified is the segment between Shallow Creek and Minton.
Right. That's what we're concerned about.
Critical segment, exactly. So going from 2 lanes to 4 lanes gets the traffic just a little bit faster. It's a pretty short run to the intersection. So we've increased stacking, we've increased the turning movements, we have dedicated right to go south, 2 to go north, but we don't necessarily want to get the traffic there significantly faster because then you're going to be more stacking, more cars at the intersection. So it's actually remaining as a 2-lane. It's a little counterintuitive, but the 4-lane, that section, just gets the cars faster from Shallow Creek to the Minden intersection. And that's what the traffic study revealed. We were surprised. The traffic consultant was surprised. And we had to reevaluate everything when we got the numbers back the way we did. But the more significant improvement is after the 300, that the Parkway, Norfolk Parkway, goes all the way to the west out to the St. John's Heritage Parkway. So now you've got the ability to split the traffic 2 directions. It could be as much as a 40-60 split, something like that, because people are going to be able to go west easier than they can go east. So that's where the real significant improvement happens after phase 1. Now, that's not part of this agreement because it's not in the city limits, but it affects the city of West Melbourne residents pretty dramatically. So that's where it's coming from. And Melbourne was surprised by the results, the county was surprised by the results, and we were surprised by the results because we're working with all 3 agencies at the same time. That helps your question.
10 years is a long time.
Fully understand. If
Mr. Rhodey, would it be better, I'm just listening to what I've heard up here, and this is going to be a dicey vote currently, I believe. I could be 100% wrong, but that's my impression of what I heard. Would it be better to table this and have you have a chance to give us more data on this, or let it take the potential of failing?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I really do. And, our efforts with this have been to be transparent.
Right.
And this is one of the effects of transparency, right? It's this open government that works. I think tabling it till next meeting or the meeting after is still within the time frame that works for everybody.
At least until the next meeting. I'd like a chance to talk.
But also keep in mind that we have an agreement with them to do this.
For the light.
For the improvements, for the development, for the extension of the Norfolk, for 4-laning. We have an existing agreement for them to do that. So at some point, we're going to have to come to terms with that improvement.
I don't think anybody's questioning that it's going to be a good project. The question is getting it done.
I agree. I just want to reiterate, though, that...
I'm struggling with the 10 years.
Yep, I think that's, Councilwoman Adams mentioned 6. I believe you mentioned 6?
He said 6 or 7 might be.
Oh,
that would be, so 6 or 7 is perfect economy, perfect absorption rate, everything going completely perfect.
I wear rose-colored glasses a lot of the time.
So if you had to call the bond, let's talk about that then. What
So,
does that look like?
so what about a scenario where it's the second phase is 6 years with the ability to be extended for 1 year?
To negotiate this now, I'd rather just table it and not negotiate it at the meeting because, I have a...
To me, and it's your guys' meeting, right? But at the end of the day, it sounds like the item we're hung up on
Well, it's not.
is the second
We have a
phase.
traffic problem now, and the traffic light is not going to fix the problem because the traffic light's not going to do a better job than the officer standing out there that's actually directing the traffic. It's not going to fix the problem. The problem is that we're putting 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag. So we can't expect to add 600 more cars from this community. Why not just commit to starting the project day one with a possible completion date of 3 years, or starting all of them on day one and order this stuff and just start the project and just get it done. You know, me particularly, I don't care if the Pines goes in, but I think it's okay. But, you know, fix the road. It's a problem now. I mean, we put an ordinance in place about connecting this road because of all the traffics. We went through many hoops to get where we're at today to be able to control the access on this road. And we need to set, you know, why not start today? I don't care how they pay for it. They want to have an absorption rate so the houses they sell pays for it. D.R. Horton has enough money to put the road in. So.
But he's saying that we also have an agreement in place already to allow this.
We have an agreement to allow this. We're just talking about the details.
The timing of it, basically.
And so that's what we're trying to get nailed down to be able to move everything forward. And so that's why, you know, obviously this item is in front of the council to talk about that. There was a little talk about a roundabout early, which
Right, I remember all that.
that ship has long sailed. So we don't need to talk about roundabouts anymore.
One thing I'll note on kind of the urgency here, as Scott said, that the moment we get a decision from this board, our intention is to order this mast arm immediately. That's our long lead item. And I think that shows on our end that we're as eager as y'all are to get these improvements, these critical improvements in place. One, of course, the signal at Shallow Creek and Norfolk, that I think is a major concern, not to mention the improvements at Minton, which, again, Minton is the bottleneck right now. That's where everyone goes to. The second thing is regarding the 4-laning in this 10-year timeline. So we have 3 phases of traffic improvements to do here. The first phase are the major improvements, the improvements that help the Sawgrass and the Pineapple Cove residents the most. That's the signalization and the improvements at Minton. That helps the stacking, the queuing, the circulation, any of the improvements we're doing. Our intention is that we want to punch out to the west to St. John's Heritage Parkway before doing this 4-laning, because if we perform this 4-laning work before that other avenue is available to Sawgrass and Pineapple Cove residents, the traffic is only going to worsen if they're going through a construction zone while we're constructing Norfolk East. So again, we have these 3 large phases of traffic improvements to complete here. This first phase, again, as you've heard, will take approximately 3 years from the ordering of the signal. So we're 3 years in. Then we have to punch to the west, Norfolk. I mean, that's a long stretch, as you may know, to get to St. John's Heritage Parkway. And we want that fully open and operational so that residents don't have to go through a construction zone on Norfolk East just to get out of their community. So again, that's kind of where those timelines are coming from. Best case scenario, again, well before 3 years, we'll have the signal, and hopefully we'll have it in 2 at Shallow Creek and Minton. We'll then punch out west, and then we'll come back and make the 4-laning improvements. But that's a lot of different.
But you're already going to have a construction zone going on when you make the improvements at Shallow Creek. It'd just be easier to do it all at one time. Your improvements at Minton Road doesn't help Minton Road traffic at all. That traffic's still going to be, you know, the bottleneck. You know, you might have a heavier stacking lane on Norfolk, but that doesn't help the traffic on Minton at all. I mean, that's the timing of the light.
Does everybody agree that Norfolk should connect to St. John's Heritage Parkway from Minton Road? Do we all know that that's eventually going to get done? I'll just ask you guys a question. You have a developer willing to work with you to get that done. I know you mentioned that D.R. Horton has a ton of money that could do that. The way businesses run is that you just don't shell out a bunch of money to get stuff done. It's not economically feasible, okay? So if we can all agree that it needs to be done, and you have somebody in front of you that's willing to help out with all those things, if we're just sitting here talking about a 10-year timeline, and I'm telling you 7 years, and we met at 8, can we move on and complete this so that way everybody can go and they can approve our plans for design? I can order a mast arm, and I can have my kids and wife go to school in the morning at a decent time, as fast as humanly possible. I feel like that is
I don't like
reasonable.
getting into timelines, so,
You don't want to get into timelines?
no, I think we should start the project immediately.
Again,
So,
it's not economically feasible to do it all at one shot, nor is it, with that amount of traffic, it is not just construction.
then don't do the
DOT
project.
Wait,
Then don't do the project.
Mr. Rhodey, am I still on, or is Mr. If traffic could get to Minton quicker, I don't care if it's a space shuttle, can they get onto Minton?
Well, there'll be an additional lane. So there's 3 now. There's 2 left and a through and a right. There'll be a dedicated right, a through, and 2 left. And it'll be larger stacking.
Right, but they can't get on Minton faster. I can see them getting to Minton faster with a 4-lane. But once you get there.
More of them.
At high traffic times, no.
Here, Mr. Rhodey.
No, he's exactly right. So at high traffic, just like several intersections in West Melbourne, at high traffic, you're only able to go as much room as there is to go.
Right.
Whether that's
With flyover or not.
Milwaukee 192, Hollywood, Dairy, all of those have the same struggle.
Yeah.
And let me just add, Pat, at 3 o'clock during high traffic times, yes, more traffic can go left and go straight across. You're not going to be able to turn and go down Palm Bay. That's the bottleneck.
That's solid.
And that's it. In the morning, absolutely, traffic will get out of there faster because you don't have the same bottleneck going north, and you could go any direction. So having the 4 lanes go through would absolutely speed up that traffic.
So what are you guys agreeing to or putting out there for the timeline if we know it's not going to be 10?
so.
Well, we're not going to agree to, at least, not all of us.
Understood. So just based on timing, same thing, punching out, having to be able to afford to punch out west, 8 years would be as close as possible, and I still don't know if the development's going to be completely done in 8 years as far as a build-out of homes, right? So 10 years would be, we get final sign-off, final inspections from the city of West Melbourne on the 4-laning section of it. So there would be a year and a half or a year prior starting construction to complete the 4-laning. So I know it's kind of hard looking at the math. So even at 7 years being where we're at, we would start development. Before that, you would still bleed into 8 years. That's with everything going completely without any issues. Yeah, we did just arbitrarily. Actually, we were actually hoping for more time. I think I started at like 15 or 12, and that got shot down. And so it was very much where,
Thank you.
Ms. Adams?
Thank you. So you're saying 6 for potentially finishing your portion of housing build, correct?
6 to 8.
I'm saying
In term,
almost 7, but 6, yes, would be like, it would be perfect. There's no delays, no anything.
okay, so 6 if it was perfect, and then you're expecting a year of design and permitting and that sort of thing?
Sorry, I'm not trying to be confusing, I promise.
That's okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding.
Years of being able to go vertical. So from approval process from the city of Melbourne to give me a permit to break ground, you're 12 to 14 to 16 months. Add that year, let's call it what it is. It always takes about a year and a half before we ever get CFC to be able to go vertical. So add a year and a half, and then 6 years of building and selling through homes. So you're at 7.5 years. That is perfect. That is, we've done everything we're supposed to do, no delays, we hit the market just like we were supposed to, and we were able to get through homes. That's perfect. So 8 years is, I'm at risk.
So are we willing, I mean, I think there's more of an appetite for 8 than there is for 10. Are we then willing to amend what's before us to say we're going to do it? I don't know if the number makes sense in terms of the number of homes, if that still works for you guys, but amending that 10 to 8. I verbally hear you say it, but I want to make sure that I'm on the same page. Okay, because I understand from after you've presented about what the process is for installing a traffic light, I feel like sometimes, if you tell the city manager, we'd like to talk to the county about a traffic light, the process just begins, and I don't really track how much time that takes. However, hearing it from your perspective, I get it. Knowing how that process goes, I'm not even sure if the city tried, we could, Mr. Rohde, is it possible from a city perspective, could we get a traffic light done in less than 3 years?
It's definitely a year for the mast arm. We haven't ordered the board, the electronical component. Our last project took 1.5 years for the mast arm and almost 2 years for the board, for the box, the brains of the item. But that was a long time ago. That was, that's like now 3 years ago.
Right. Are we expecting that to be faster now or slower now?
I've been told the boxes are going better, but the mast arms are still about a year.
Okay. So understanding it from that point and understanding you guys want this project to move like we want it to move, I don't think it behooves you to drag it out, just like we wouldn't want to tell our residents, yeah, they're just dragging their feet because we gave them up to a longer amount of time. So I get that. I appreciate you guys taking our questions and working this through with us to make sure we're all on the same page. I'd still like it to be 6 to 7, but understanding mathematically that may not work. 8 is still better than 10. So
And
thank you.
that's completion, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that is.
Mr. Frampus?
Deputy Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we table this till the following meeting so Mr. Rohde can get with them and work out these details.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear any seconds? Mr. Gaylord?
I'll second.
It's any council discussion on that? Okay. So I have a motion to the next meeting or to the meeting after? Don't we have to say when we're tabling it to?
This isn't
Okay.
so it doesn't need to be date certain.
Okay, I have for tabling, I have a motion from Mr. Frampus and a second. Oh, hold on,
Deputy Mayor, can we have just for peace of mind, are we picking a date certain?
When Mr.
Or are we
Rohde
just-
wants to bring it back.
Next meeting's April 21st, and then we have a May 3rd meeting.
Okay.
There doesn't have to be a date certain. He said he can bring it back on the agenda whenever he deems.
Yeah, and I don't think that city attorney's mic was on. The city attorney said it doesn't need to be a date certain. It's not a public, we do date certain when it's a public hearing that we've posted.
That's to avoid having to advertise it again, but that's not relevant in this case.
Okay, back to the motion to table from Mr. Frampus with a second from Mr. Gaylord. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Ooh, I'm going to have to do a count on that one. I need a roll. Do you think so?
It's 3 to 3, I think.
No, it was,
It went 4.
Mayor Young voted to table, so it's 3 to 4.
I voted to table.
Right, so it was 3 to 4.
I think there's 4, I thought. Can we, roll call, vote?
Yeah.
Be safe.
Councilmember Bentley? Councilmember Bentley?
I'm not for tabling it, if you want to word that.
Councilmember Frampus?
Table.
Councilmember Adams? Councilmember Volz?
No.
No meaning?
No
you're
table.
Opposed to tabling?
Yes, correct.
Councilmember Gaylord?
Table.
Deputy Mayor McGuire?
No table.
Lost 3 to 4.
Mayor Young?
Table.
So it was 4 to table, 3 to not table, so the matter's tabled.
Yes.
All right. Up next, we have the 5-year capital improvement plan. Mr. Rhodey.
I'm not trying to make the council upset, but could we take a 5-minute recess for?
Sure, yeah, we can take a 5-minute. I think that reconvenes us at 8 o'clock. For the 5-year capital improvement plan.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. So before you this evening is a requirement for our comprehensive plan. One of the requirements for the state is to approve a 5-year capital improvements plan, which we utilize kind of dual. One, not only obviously we'd like to follow the requirements of the state, but also kind of starts our kickoff for capital projects. You'll notice that we try to divide the projects based in the years that we think we're going to spend those funds. But these numbers tend to be a little more rounded. These aren't, when we get to the budget CIP, we plug in the exact dollar amount. These are a little bit more estimates, so something that we think is going to cost somewhere between, 71 and 73,000. We just average 75,000 and keep the process moving forward, because it's not so much a budget exercise as it is a planning and financial planning exercise. And so before you this evening is our 5-year capital improvement plan. A lot of the projects that we have talked about and continue to talk about are in here. They're divided into the required categories. And so I'm happy to take any questions. We also include a section that's transportation improvements that are not the cities, either state, county, or either the state or the county, just to kind of show a bigger picture of some of the other projects that are going on, but those obviously aren't budgeted or paid for by the city. So those are in there as well to paint a full picture. And staff requests that you review, discuss, and approve the 5-year CIP plan for the comprehensive plan.
Before we talk further on that, can I get the city attorney to read it for us?
I will absolutely do that. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Or Madam Deputy Mayor, excuse me. This is ordinance number 2026-06, an ordinance of the City of West Melbourne, Brevard County, Florida, adopting the annual update to the capital improvements element of the comprehensive plan, consistent with Chapter 163, Florida statutes, providing for the repeal of ordinances and resolutions in contact herewith, providing for severability and interpretation, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
All right, back to the council. Ms. Waltz?
Yeah, just go over what you were talking about, Tim, about the transportation capital.
Yeah, so at the bottom of the spreadsheet, which is, we'll call it 8C-7, is the council packet page number. We have some transportation capital projects. One of them's phase 1 of the Hollywood Boulevard widening. That's not a West Melbourne project. That wouldn't be funded through West Melbourne. And when or if that ever were to happen, that would not be our project, but it's a really relevant one to West Melbourne, so we include it in this CIP plan. The I-95 paving.
95 is not ours either.
I-95 is definitely not ours, and it was supposed to be done almost a year ago, and as we all notice, it's getting closer, but it's still not complete.
Oh, boy.
And then the Ellis widening, which again, we are contributing some money to that, but the bulk cost of the Ellis widening project is coming from the county and the TPO.
Yeah, so we are going to be giving money for the I-95?
No, we are giving zero funds to the I-95 repaving. Zero.
Why
$0.
does it, well, that's why I'm asking you, why does it show $10 million?
Yeah, we have always added in major road improvement projects that touch West Melbourne, just to provide context, because this document is a requirement of the comprehensive plan, so the state wants to see all the projects in the area, and transportation is a big element of the comp plan, and so we show these items as part of the checklist.
Budget-wise, it makes no sense.
There are several items that are mandatory of the state's requirement of the comprehensive plan that I would say are not fair or make perfect sense to me, but this is one that we include as a requirement.
Well, good luck balancing that budget. Okay.
Mr. Frampus?
Be clear, this isn't part of our budget.
This has nothing
No.
to do with the City of West Melbourne 26-27 budget. This is just a,
I understand that, but the.
just more of a planning document.
Yeah,
Make a motion, we approve the first reading of ordinance 2026-6 as written.
Ms. Adams?
I'll second.
All right, I have, let me see here. All right, I have a motion from Mr. Frampus and a second from Ms. Adams. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, now it looks like, Ms. Alexander, you have to ask us about the alternate for the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As you can see by the memo, and I'm going to be very brief, the council is asked to consider appointing an alternate member to the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization. As you all are aware, Mayor Young is the sole representative, and if she's unable to attend a meeting, then we do not have representation at those meetings. So I've provided the calendar for council's information, and if you would like to appoint an alternate, that would be great.
Hold on, let me pull this up. I have no lights on, which I kind of expected would happen. Yep. Hold on, I'm trying to pull this up again before I commit to anything again. Please.
So if you see the calendar that's attached, there are 7 meetings of the governing board. They meet Thursdays at 1:30 in Rockledge. Well, the governing board is the council, so one of the council members to be an alternate. The other one is Mr. Rhodey and Director Fisher go to those.
I have no issues being the alternate on this. Miss Adams.
I will happily make a motion to appoint Alexis McGuire as our alternate to the governing board of the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization. Thank you.
Mr. Bentley. You good? Second from Mr. Bentley? Okay. All right, I've got a motion from Ms. Adams and a second from Mr. Bentley to appoint me as alternate to the TPO. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Alexis.
Yep. Okay, next up is the conflicting dates in September for council meetings.
Thank you, ma'am. When the council set their meeting dates for the year 2026, they did it last year, and there were 2 little asterisks that said that we might have to change the September council meetings. The county and the school board do not set their meetings out as far as we do. And so, unfortunately, we were informed that the Board of County Commissioners for Brevard County has set their budget hearings on the same date that we were going to hold ours, and state statute says that they get to have those dates. So we have offered the council if they would like to consider holding those budget hearings on Wednesday, September 9th instead of Tuesday, September 8th, and Wednesday, September 23rd instead of Tuesday, September 22nd. Which was something Mr. Rhodey mentioned in the budget workshop.
Before I look at this one, typically the 9th would fall on a P&Z meeting.
We would adjust that.
Okay, just making sure.
Plenty of time to adjust that.
yeah.
I was going to say, it's in my calendar as P&Z. Wanted to clarify. Okay, Ms. Adams?
I'll make a motion to reschedule our regular council meetings in September to be held on Wednesday, September 9th and Wednesday, September 23rd due to the conflict.
Mr. Gaylord?
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Adams, a second from Mr. Gaylord about the date moving. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Yay, here we go again.
Back by popular demand.
8:11. All right. Ms. Murphy, celebrated park entryways.
Oops. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Council. I am back again tonight. I have, based on the council feedback, I rearranged some of the sign placement to large signs being added to every location to be consistent. Wayfinding signs with maps at Sandhill Crane Park have been added. And pillar-style signs have been added to Flanagan and Fell Road entrances, and a medium sign has been added at the Sunflower House. Would you all like to go through them
Why not?
page by page?
No, Mr. Bentley.
That we approve this as read
Second.
and as outlined in our package.
Mr. Frampus.
Not going to.
Can you bring up the placement of the way signs at Sandhill Crane Park?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, technically I have a motion on the floor. Are you going to second for?
So here are the,
Second with a question.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So
these are just the plain ones, and then the maps were here. Did you have a question on the maps or the ones without maps?
Probably a map. We have it in front of what used to be Field of Dreams and what is the concession area, correct? That's where those two signs are at, right?
No, the one is going to be at the entrance off of, so right across from the maintenance building. When you first walk into the park, that is a busier entrance for us off of the Spine Road. And then the other map was when you exit the park, that kind of gave a map to the splash pad.
They're not pointing to where they're supposed to be? It looks like they're pointing to certain areas.
I think you're right. You're saying the concession area at Abe's Place. She's thinking concession area at Field of Dreams. Remember, there's that roll-up concession area at Field of Dreams.
It looks like it's right between the two buildings, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, we'll call it the southern one. Can you go back?
This one?
Yep. So that southern one is at the popular entrance of people coming into
From the main parking lot.
from the main parking lot.
And then the other one is near,
The entrance of the Spine Road, which is the other busy entryway
by Field of Dreams.
by Field of Dreams.
So my suggestion was going to be put one of those map signs near, over by where the pavilions are, the skate park, so when people come in that park along the backside of the parking lot are also going to be able to see a map on the whole park and not just have to go into the park itself.
That would cover all three entrances then.
So, I mean, it just, to me, it makes more sense to have it out where you're going to be parking and walking in. There is always a big problem with the different pavilions, the number of the pavilions, and I'm guessing the map is going to have the pavilions numbered on there as well. So if they're going to be renting one of those pavilions, they're going to be parking up by the pavilions and not walk all the way in and try to figure it out. So that was my only suggestion. I like everything else. Won't take my head off that, but I would like for you to modify your motion
Fine.
to add that.
I'd modify
But
the
everything
motion
else-
to agree with Steve.
So,
Get it done.
All right. Seeing no other lights, hearing no other comments, I've got a motion from Mr. Bentley and a second by Mr. Frampus with that one minor change. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
It was.
We should have put you early in the agenda.
All right, moving on to council reports. It looks like I am up first.
Oops, we didn't have to.
You were last.
Typically. It's okay. I can go as is. Let's see. So last week, this week, I don't even know. Last week, thank you, was the Palm Bay Chamber luncheon where I did the state of the city for all of them. That was very well received. Got a lot of comments afterwards. The only thing I've been hearing is that we basically just change the numbers out in our presentation every year, and maybe it's time for a little bit of a refresh on that. But other than that, it was well received. I got a couple some good questions while I was up there, and everything seemed to go pretty well on that. I don't have any reminders or, all right, perfect. That is my report. Mr. Frampus.
No report.
Ms. Foltz.
Yes, I did have a chance to stop by the Easter egg hunt with the bunch of little kids over there. It was great. I just loved watching them. It was really awesome. And I, excuse me tonight, I don't know what's the deal here. Anyway, I did go to the chamber event, and I think you did an amazing job. It was awesome. So really appreciated you stepping up for Andrea. You did a great job. And then, of course, went to the League of Cities, and God knows what else I did, but that was it.
Ms. Adams.
Thank you. I'll echo the sentiments. I think you did a great job representing the city for the chamber. Some of the questions also focused on Ellis Road, so I think our community as a whole continues to be wondering about that progress. So you handled all of the questions very well indeed. The second thing was we did another event with the Transportation Planning Organization and a couple other partners out near the hybrid pedestrian beacons in terms of trying to educate the public on what the different signals and colors mean. I think the police department's going to have to continue working on that education piece, because while I continue to reiterate to people that ask me about them that 192 is not our road and it is FDOT, they continue to ask questions, call my phone, knock on my door, and want to know what are we, why did we install these and how do we use them? And I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble if I go when it's blinking yellow versus not. And so I think we continue to push out that education piece. It's going to help with the traffic flow that is on 192, but it was a good event. I know a couple of us were able to make it, and the police department was really out there, and their focus right now, at least then until now, from my understanding, is continuing to focus on that education piece and not necessarily the enforcement until they feel like the community really has a solid understanding of how those beacons are supposed to operate and help with traffic flow and safety. The third thing was this past Saturday, they had a beep and seek egg hunt with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office and FCA Brevard. And so they had, if you've never been out to their beep ball that they have at the Field of Dreams, they have these large, they're quite large, they're very large baseball looking things that beep to help athletes that have visual impairments to participate and play and work on different skills. And so I've seen beep ball. I had never seen a beep and seek egg hunt before. And so they put these beeping eggs out in, if you could picture our Field of Dreams, they put them into the baseball field. And so the participants were able to find these Easter eggs based on how they beep in the field. I didn't know how easy or difficult that was going to be, and I learned quite a bit just in seeing how people would navigate something like that, and their encouragement was to try to do it as independently as possible, and quite a few of the people that chose to participate, we did have Promise residents, but we had other West Melbourne residents, we had people from outside West Melbourne come to participate, and the feedback that I got was, this is a really cool, inclusive event, and we really like being here, and I know that FCA liked being there. Beat Ball is going to be doing a Beat Ball huddle in May. I think it's each week through the month of May. Aaron says yes. So they're going to be doing that each week through the month of May, and so they use this event to also reach more people with visual impairments to try to encourage participation in future Beat Ball events. But if you haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to go out and see it, talk to the people that participate. It was
When is
really
it?
cool. The
said-
huddle in May,
Yeah.
I have to look at which dates, or Erin might know off the top of her head. It's one day a week for each, maybe it's Saturdays? It is Saturdays. We
Okay.
just don't know the time, but we can get
You
that
let
to
us
you.
know. Yeah.
I think it's 9, but I don't want to lock that in unless I'm sure. And then the final thing I have to note is we did have the April Youth Advisory Board meeting. We have an event on May 16th from 1 to 3. It is a partnership with the Youth Advisory Board and the Police Department. Their focus is mainly on, for an end-of-year thing, for school ending, to focus on teen and youth mental health. And so they chose to do this collaboration event with the Police Department. It is free and open to families, of course, as well, but we're specifically trying to outreach to the youth in our community. So I just wanted to share that with council to help us get the word out, but also make sure that you're invited to attend. We will have our last Youth Advisory Board meeting that first week of May before they take a break for the summer. So just a heads up on that if you forget about that changing schedule and then show up in June or July and we're not meeting in here. So just wanted to give you a heads up
Can
on
you
that.
let us know when that other event is?
The
The end is?
the Beat Ball huddle?
Yeah.
Yep, I can get that out. Thank you. For the huddle event? Okay.
PM? At night, right? Okay. All right, Mr. Bentley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I did attend most of the things that have been mentioned on here. The crossings on 192, boy, that needs some work. I think it's a great program, but most cars didn't know what to do. I mean, they were just, and there was police officers both on motorcycles and in their vehicles, and if you didn't do the right thing, the feeling had to be you were going to get pulled over. Of course, it was only an educational thing, but it was fun to sort of watch in the sense that I think most people wanted to do the right thing, but they just didn't know what to do. So I think if the city can, I don't want to put it out there in the weekly letter thing that you send out because it's only 800 people that get that. But somehow, if there's something we can get out to the broader city to know how that operates, it would be useful.
Yeah, we did a big Facebook push on all of our Facebook platforms when they said it was going to go live, and then it really didn't go live. And then we did it again when they said it was really going to go live, and then it still hasn't really gone live. It's live some places, but it's not live at all the intersections. So we will continue. We'll push it again this week and get it out. I think what would really help is if they were all really live.
Yeah. Also, there was these little bookmarkers, I guess, size things that showed everything on there. If we could get those from, I don't know, FDOT or whoever sponsors that, and hand them out, maybe put them in the building over there and let people pick them up when they come through. Maybe we can put it in their water bill so that it's separate.
We'll include FDOT's number with them.
Yeah. So they need help, and they wanted help, so I think that was positive. I think the Easter egg thing at the Field of Dreams was really, I had a good time there. Watching them listen to the sound, for the deaf folks, and go actually get to participate in an Easter egg hunt. That was fun to watch and very touching to watch. So if you didn't get a chance to go, you ought to go next year because, I think you'd walk away saying, man, that was worth the time of being there. And the last thing I have is, I attended the Palm Bay Chamber, and as you've heard, Alexis did a presentation on the status kind of the state of the city, I think they call it. And that was the second event, because I was also at the one at the police station with Officer Aaron Soft and Alexis, where she presented to a group. You did a great job at both those events of representing the city, of presenting the material like it was just the back of your hand. I mean, it really came across well. and I've been to hundreds of these over the years, and to get the kind of questions that you got, those weren't just ordinary questions. Those were good questions, and the answers were well-informed and just off the cuff. And usually you don't get good questions after an event like that. Usually people just, they're ready to be done. They've heard enough. But they cared enough about your presentation and your style that, you know, we probably had 6 or 7 questions, good questions and great answers. So, you know, having been on here a long time, it's really good to see the youth, and I call you the youth, whether I'm supposed to politically or not, to see how well they're doing and to say, I think the city of West Melbourne's in really good hands. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaylord.
I would like to echo the sentiments of this council as a member of the youth that Deputy Mayor McGuire did do a fantastic job at the Palm Bay Chamber. And yeah, that's all I have. So, thank you.
And then Mayor Young, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I do. I wanted to thank Deputy Mayor Alexis for stepping up and just doing a great job. I heard wonderful things from you. I'm sorry I missed it. Maybe it was videoed somewhere and I could watch it there. But thank you so much for stepping up, and thank you for agreeing to be the alternate to the TPO as well. I'll be back on my feet soon, and I'll be back. It's my goal to be at our next council meeting on the 21st. I should be there back in my regular chair. So thank you very much for your patience. I did do the road crossings like the rest of the group did. I was part of that. I agree with you, Mr. Bentley. We need a lot more education out there. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And they did ask Mayor Young if they could film me while I was presenting, so I would assume that recording is somewhere.
Great, thanks.
Okay, management reports.
No report at this time.
Just a quick note that taxes are due next week, and that should prompt you to start thinking about your financial disclosures. As you probably remember, a couple of years ago, some people challenged that, and the court issued a stay, and it appears the stay is still in effect, so you still will be filing the Form 1, and you have to do that by July 1st, 2026, and please get it in on time because they will fine you for being late, and they're very unforgiving on the fines for being late. So just as a reminder, I'll remind you again as it gets closer, but just to put that in your head so you start thinking about it.
Perfect. All right. Any last minute things for the good of the order? Ms. Adams.
Just a quick question for Mr. Rohde. I know it was brought up during the item that we tabled. Will we be getting a copy of the report that the gentleman referenced in regards to I think it was the traffic numbers?
The traffic study, happy to forward the traffic study.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right. With that, then we are